Then it goes a little something like.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to episode 5 of the Ballrooms and Bachelors Podcast. I'm Camille,
I'm Matthew.
and we have a lot to discuss today.
Yeah.
So I think before we dive into the episode of the Bachelorettes, let's talk a little bit about dance this past week. And there were some announcements for Dancing with the Stars that we wanted to talk about.
Okay,
So I think right now, we're still coming off of the AODC competition, and it's kind of been a quiet week in the studio, like between the end of last week and beginning of this week. A lot of our friends, our fellow students are on vacation, so it's been pretty quiet.
Yeah.
We've had some small group classes.
Yeah.
But I think it's a good wind down off of the energy of the competition. I don't know. Would you agree?
I definitely agree. Like you were saying, we've had some small group classes, including me being the only student in one of them, which is like absolutely crazy. Which
class was that?
What class was it? Okay, I gotta look back at the calendar because I don't remember. It was, let's see.
Last week, I guess.
It was last week. It was the How to Partner class. That's what it was. Yeah. Because Thursday, it was Thursdays usually Mambo and the partner class, and my instructor usually teaches Mambo, but she's on vacation, and then David, one of our other instructors at our studio, usually teaches the How to Partner lead follow class. And I got there, and he was like, "Well, you're the only one here," and then he had said, "Well, usually when there's only one person here, we do half a group class," so I like waited around for a little bit. It was actually pretty beneficial because I actually had told him things that Elena and I are working on in our routines. And I was like, "Oh, I want to get better at leading her in this way and for this routine and this step and stuff like that." So we spent like the group class just focusing on actually stuff dedicated to what I'm doing in my routines, which was really, really helpful. But it was definitely crazy because there's been some group classes, as you know, that are like 15, 25 people in a class, but it's like so crazy. So to be the only one in the class is definitely a different feeling for sure. But I definitely agree. It's a different feeling not having as many people in the studio this week for sure.
Yeah, I didn't know about that you had the one class last week by yourself. Yeah, the one thing is, so like the classes typically change every month, just for people's awareness too. So I mean, sometimes you might have a class that carries from one month to the next month.
Exactly.
So I didn't check, I forgot, I don't think that's on the schedule, that one class, but since like August started on Monday, there's like new classes this week. So I know Monday I came for the second class, which is we're doing like a choreography. We're thinking of doing a performance in November, so we're gonna keep that quiet. But yeah, it's going pretty well. So we had a handful of us on that class, and we're like locking down on the choreography now. And then yesterday I had a lesson right before the salsa class, so it's intermediate and advanced salsa. So we were working yesterday, and I know that we were going through in different turns and stuff. So I think for me it's like, since I've competed salsa in the social stuff like a little bit, but not as much. So I like to just, when I do the group classes, it's good just to be like, all right, I'll work a little bit on salsa, because I don't practice it as much in my group classes or in my private lessons, I mean. But it's always beneficial for the parties, and if I want to do salsa and stuff.
And that's the reason why I wanted to take. I usually take all the intermediate advanced classes, but even yesterday, like you were saying, I don't practice salsa very much in my private lessons or just any time like this, because I'm doing exclusively Latin for competition, and so that's what I practice. What'd you say?
Get like so focused on what we're
I know you're so focused. Like, exactly. You're so focused on that one thing or that one style or two styles that you're working on, because like we had been talking about in the last few episodes, that the styles you do in dance are so precise and so detailed that it's really hard to like fill your brain with so much information for all the styles of dance. So I can lead in salsa okay, but I want to get better at it, and that's the reason why I like taking the intermediate advanced classes, because I feel like for other dances I'm on those levels of it, but just to get to learn more about those dances and get the expertise in them, like we were saying, it's definitely is beneficial for like the parties, because usually for the parties or for the galas at our competitions and stuff like that, social dancing is really, really kind of like the main thing. and I just want to get better at that. So yeah, definitely the salsa class is for sure really helpful for me. So I definitely agree that it's good to take them even if you don't like, that's not the style you really are, you really do a lot, I guess.
Yeah, and I think for me it's like it's easy because I'm following, and it's like sometimes I know that sometimes we're flipping and I'm like trying to learn the lead position, like the lead stuff, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm gonna like choke somebody.
That's the exact same way with me with following. Like there's sometimes like in our group classes where we've like said, okay, switch. And like, I've never really followed before. I'm always the leader. And like, anytime I dance, so like, it's like so foreign to me. I'm like, oh no, what do I do? And it's just like so funny, but it's good to get a little bit of the different, in a different mindset sometimes.
Yeah. So what else we had? I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I've had my lessons now, obviously with Yuri for the first time after the competition. So, I mean, we discussed like how I did the competition. We watched some videos the other day to like review and see my progress because him and I had watched like videos from my last competition in December. Actually, I don't know how much we watched some from December and we had watched from like last September.
Oh, wow.
Like a few weeks ago before the competition. So I think we were talking about like what did I think improved, and now, like I had said in previous episodes, I'm probably not planning to compete Latin or probably standard for quite a while. I think I'm going to wait until next year. Partially just because, I've done a lot in the past year and I'm just trying to balance things out. It's, the competitions do cost money, and that is a thing. And I don't need to get into the whole specifics on that, but it's partially that. I do have a lot of other things going on in my life right now that I don't need to get into right now. But yeah, I think I just want to make sure that I am also, especially with Latin, making sure that I'm really drilling the technique and stuff, because I think it's, especially when I'm gold, whether it's like closed gold choreography or open gold choreography, I just want it to be in my muscle memory of like doing the steps properly. And I think, I've put a lot of effort into like competing, and I wanted to do the AODC competition and have that experience and get one competition with Yuri under my belt. So I did all of that, and now I think it's like, okay, I want to have an extended period of time where I'm just focusing on the technique and I don't have to have this stress of a competition or anything hanging over my head. It's just like I can just focus on this and do that. So that's kind of my plan. I think with standard, we're just like revamping my choreography a little bit. And I have more of the technique, but it's still like the frame, it's kind of the same thing. So I want to just know that the next time I do a competition for either of the styles, that I'm like, I feel more like grounded in the technique that I should have for the level that I'm competing at. Exactly. So that way it's more like second nature, if that makes any sense.
Oh, it does for sure. And it's the same thing with me. I kind of have the same mindset where, like, obviously I've talked about it in the past, in the last few episodes. I'm not going to I don't want to get too much into it, but with competing, for me, with competing in December, that's something I've been excited about and looking forward to and planning for the whole year. So that's what like I said, I've competed at the two competitions that were smaller at the beginning of the year, but I really wanted to use this time to really just get the technique and the muscle memory and just the choreography down to make it just really, really an easy transition into competing at the AODC competition. Because that's, like you said, you wanted to get that experience and I want to get that experience too. So that's what I'm really, really excited about. But after that, I think, because like I had said, after that, I think I'm probably going to do one competition next year, and it's probably going to be in the summer, and probably mini match, which is like the smaller competitions at our studio. And just because we're most likely going to add standard, like I had talked about before. So I definitely really, really, really want to focus on learning that first, since I'm going to be most likely competing two styles in one competition next year. And like you were saying, probably until next year, it's going to be quiet for you competition wise, and probably will be the same for me after December as well. So it definitely just takes time, and you want to make sure you're at your best when you go and compete, because like you said, it's a lot of commitment, and obviously the how much it costs and everything like that. It takes a lot out of you, and so you definitely want to make sure you're in the right place when you're competing, for sure. But it definitely is a lot of fun and very rewarding and fulfilling. But for sure, I definitely agree with that.
And I know I'm like got the countdown for how many more weeks until you have the December comp, but no, I don't want to stress you out. So
no, I'm excited.
Probably around 20 weeks, because we were counting the weeks until the November comp, but we
right. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's gonna be crazy, because like I think the November comp is like wait, isn't it like middle of November?
Yeah, it's the 16th through the 20th.
Okay,
and then
yeah,
December is like,
the 14th or the 18th.
oh, I forgot. Yeah.
And my
Oh,
instructor said we
yeah, so it's
probably
gonna
would
be
get
around
there
that.
earlier, or like a few days, like a day before the competition starts, just so we travel there and have a travel day. So it's probably gonna be like do the
Yeah.
November thing, and then like 3 weeks, 4 weeks later go to Texas. So it's
Yeah, there's a
definitely,
lot, like just with Dance with Me and now like the American Open Dance Sport Championships, like their
right.
circuit that they're doing. I don't want to incorrectly explain how that circuit works. So if you're interested, just message us. I can send you the link.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, there is a competition in August, between the Dance with Me comps and that circuit. I think there's a competition in August that we're hosting, one that's like from end of September to early October. There's one in November and there's one in December. So there's
Right.
a lot going on.
Yeah.
So I think that's why like everybody's kind of like, which one are you doing and this and that. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's really it. But
Yeah. Right this week. Besides that.
yeah, I think that's really it. So in other dancing news that's not about our dancing, fortunately, like today, I don't know when they actually posted the post, but I saw the post today.
Yeah, I think it's today.
I think it was today. Yeah, right before they did Dancing with the Stars officially announced their premiere is going to be September 19th on Disney Plus. So of course we're going to be talking about Dancing with the Stars 2 when it comes out. And yeah, so I think we hadn't talked too much about like the new format for the season. I mean, I don't have Disney Plus, so I'm gonna have to get Disney Plus and get that all set up. But I did notice that they were adding Alfonso Ribeiro to do the announcing. I think he's co-hosting with Tyra. So we'll see how it goes. I think it'll be interesting. Good.
For sure, yeah. I think it would be interesting to see, because I haven't had two hosts for, I know it seems like it's just not, it actually hasn't been that long, but it seems like it's been an eternity since they've had two hosts. So I think it's interesting to see what the format is like when they have two hosts again. Because I thought that's kind of what made the show like really cool to have two different hosts, and they had like two different roles with hosting. So I think it's gonna be cool to see what Alfonso does and how they kind of like incorporate two hosts again.
Yeah, I don't want to get too much into the whole thing with obviously they made some changes a few years ago with like Tom Bergeron and Erin Andrews left the show, and then it was just Tyra. And I know that she's gotten a lot of criticism of how she's hosted it. I personally haven't loved it. I don't dislike her. That is not about it. I think I also can understand why it was difficult, because like the first season she did, it was like during COVID. So you're also not standing next to people. They were like so far separated and everybody was all over the place. And I think what I noticed, like, and I think it lends itself to what you were saying, is with the two hosts versus the one host, I think it's hard because the way that they had it split when it was Tom Bergeron and most recently Erin Andrews, it was kind of like Tom gets them when they finish the dance, like, how are you doing, this, that, the other thing, and like gets the judge feedback and then whatever. And then they go upstairs to the skybox, I think they called it, with Erin, and then they did like get the results, and then she talked to them about like other things going on in their lives. So it was kind of like there was a clear distinction of like this conversation. Right. Whereas I think Tyra kind of just had to like manage it all. And it's very hard because they're so limited on time that I think it was a hard transition. And I think there was a lot of, I think they were just talking a lot about Tyra's outfits and stuff. And it's just hard because I feel like, you want the show to be focused on like the dancers and the pros and all that. So I don't know, that's some of the criticism that like I've had. And I think we'll see if they're going to take it that like Alfonso's going to kind of do what Tom did and then Tyra's just going to do what Erin did. So we'll see how it goes. But I think the bigger thing with Disney Plus, like, I haven't had Disney Plus, and my mom and I like watching it on TV. So it's kind of annoying that I have to go pay for Disney Plus now to go watch it. But I don't know. But it is what it is.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm interested to see if that's like going to be like the future of live, like network shows. If they're going to go to like streaming things, because most like all three big networks on TV right now all have streaming services now. They all have streaming platforms or own streaming platforms that through them. So I'm interested to see if it's like, oh, maybe like an America's Got Talent moves to something, or like I don't know, I can't think of another one, but just like a other reality show or live show that is really popular, that's a weekly live show. if that's going to move to like a streaming platform, because that seems to kind of be the lay of the land now with,
Yeah.
with broadcasting in way that shows have been streamed and broadcasted is through streaming services. So I'm interested to see if this is kind of like other networks will be like, hey, Dancing with the Stars did this with Disney Plus, let's try it with this. So I'm interested to see if that's
it will be interesting too, because I think the one thing that it was live, like it was live, you know, it was live reality television. I mean, even with like the Bachelor and all of that, it's aside from like the after the final rose and that stuff, it's not live, it's pre-filmed, it's pre-edited,
right.
edited.
I know I couldn't say that last week either.
Syllables on that. It's like I also my background got compromised. No, it's like pre-filmed, pre-edited, all of that, and then whereas like Dancing with the Stars, it is live. So I don't know if they're gonna stream it live or they're gonna film it.
I think they're gonna stream it live, because the big thing that they said in the spring was like it's the first ever live streaming network show on a streaming service. So I think they're planning it for it to be live on Disney Plus. So they made it like kind of this like groundbreaking thing. It's going to be the first live network show to be on a streaming service. So I think that's what it's going to be.
Yeah, and I think okay, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
and also kind of also as a segue into the next thing. So I know Bachelor in Paradise is also going to be premiering. I think they said September 27th was the date. Right. So they're kind of going to be within a week of each other. So Matthew and I already discussed how there's going to potentially be a point in time in September into October where we're going to have 6 hours of television a week to watch. Boy. And since we're at the studio so late some nights, we can't even watch it live. Yeah. So we have to we're gonna see. I think this is why we kind of plan to post on Thursdays, because it gives us enough time to like catch up on the videos, watch it, and then like dissect it, and then
and everything
and react.
Crazy, because the Bachelor franchise, whatever, like I thought I would be able to watch it easy, piece of cake, Monday nights, and then be able to like record Wednesday. That really hasn't happened this season. No. We've talked about like this like on our own time. No. We've usually like watched it Tuesday and the Wednesday and finished it Wednesday, and then we record Wednesday night. So it's like it's going to be interesting to see what the two shows are going to be like.
Yeah. Well, because we had dance late on Monday because we had the group classes, and I had a private lesson after my group class, and then Tuesday it was the same thing, at least like the way my schedule is kind of panning out right now for August. And then you know, my mom watches it. Then she might fall asleep, so she misses the end. So then I'm like, oh, we'll watch it on my iPad on the streaming, like on the ABC replay. And then I'm like, well, where did you stop? So I'll watch until then, and then we'll recap, and then we watch it together, because I'm like, I don't want to watch it like again and again just because you missed it, and then I need to watch it for the podcast. So we'll see. I don't know, we'll see what happens with the group class schedule closer to that point too. But
I was just gonna go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I think there's only gonna be so many weeks that Bachelor in Paradise has 4 hours of content. So
I think that makes sense.
2 to 3 weeks maybe.
Yeah, that makes sense. Fingers crossed. I know. But I was just gonna say, are there anything, I was just interested, are you interested or anything you're looking forward to for either of the two shows coming up, like anything with dancing in terms of like pros you're looking forward to, or maybe like, I know it's hard to guess because it's so like secretive with the cast and everything, but and again I think kind of the biggest thing was the whole two host thing. It's just going to be interesting to see what they're going to do.
I mean, I think we've at least seen like the format for it before, so the two hosts, I'll just see if they're going to kind of go back to that format. I think it worked, and we're kind of like more out of COVID times, more so than obviously the past 2 seasons. So, you know, maybe it will kind of feel like more like normal again. I mean, I love Alan as like one of the pros.
So, he's awesome.
So I'm just looking forward to see him and who he gets partnered with, and pretty much like everybody. I know Brandon Armstrong recently got married too. They were posting some posts from his wedding, and I just remember because I had gone to see the Dancing with the Stars live tour before, right before the pandemic, and it was, and also just like the stuff that they were posting on Instagram, like while they were on tour that season, it was hilarious. Like they're just hilarious, and I think it's also crazy because we are on like a second degree of connection with them,
right?
You know, I think that's also like crazy, but you know, I think it was, and it was cool because like we know Val and Max well enough that they've like recognized us and they see us at the
Right.
competitions, and their dad too. So it's just crazy to be like, these people all know them. Like
It's crazy to
yeah.
me. Like every single time, the last two competitions I've been at, like Max and Val have come up and be like, "Hey, what's up?" And like Val came up to me one of the nights after, I think it was Sunday night. It was right before everybody
Mhm.
left. He came up to me. It was like, "So good to see you again." And he like complimented me on my outfit and everything. It was
Yeah.
just the fact that like one of my biggest dancing
Yeah.
idols and like somebody that I've looked up to for so long, like actually just like talks to me even for a second, let alone
Yeah.
like 15, 20 seconds, is like so crazy to me. And like you were saying that like everybody from the Ethical Stars and everything, they're all like
Mhm.
big inspirations for, I'm assuming, you too, with us dancing.
Yeah.
And it feels like we kind of like have an underlying connection to
Mhm.
that as well, because we're with the studio that two of the people from the show own,
Yeah.
which is pretty cool. So it definitely is really, really cool and awesome. But yeah, everybody, all the pros and everything are awesome and hilarious and just great to follow for sure.
Yeah, and Max, I know, like Max hasn't been with the show more recently, and then, um, I mean, and then Jen is pregnant, so I don't know if she's going to be a pro this season. And then we'll see, even if Val is going to be pro this season. So we'll have to wait and see. But,
Mhm.
I think when we, and that was something that we had discussed. We did the live, like we did an Instagram live when we were at the competition. We were thinking that hopefully they'll drop the cast announcements for both Dancing with the Stars and Bachelor in Paradise around the same time. So once they drop those cast announcements, we'll do like an Instagram live to chat with people. So stay tuned for the logistics on that. But I don't know, Bachelor in Paradise, I mean, I'm like 99% sure that Andrew Spencer is going. So I just want to see.
Please.
I just want to see. And I really do feel like there's going to be some guys from Gabby and Rachel's season on there.
Yep.
I just hope, I feel like they've had a lot of good like guys and girls from previous seasons. So like it'll be interesting to see new couples forming. So I'm really excited for Bachelor in Paradise. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think that should be fun for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I'm behind on Wells's podcast with Brandy Cyrus that he does, and he was like dropping like little tidbits from like the stuff from Paradise, and I think he said like at one point he was like, it's going well, like I think he's like there's certain things, but I feel like around the time it wraps he gives like a high level thing that's not going to get him in trouble of like how the season generally went. So
Exactly.
yeah, as I catch up on the podcast, we'll get a vibe from that. But I don't
Yeah,
know.
for
What
sure.
about you? Any other?
Yeah, I'm excited to see like kind of like the couples who are going to be on there and who they pick to be on this season and everything. I wouldn't be surprised if they like kind of like try to pick people from like the last few seasons of each Bachelor and Bachelorette. I
Mhm.
wouldn't even be surprised maybe they have people from like Matt and Katie's season or like
Yeah.
like their seasons, or if they, again, I wouldn't be surprised if they have somebody from Gabby and Rachel's season from this season and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They always kind of try to mix it up and have different people from different seasons. So I'm really excited to see what they're going to do. Of course, we're going to expect it's going to be crazy and everything, and it's just, there's always stuff to laugh at and love and just
Yeah.
and just like about the show and everything. That's kind of what we sign up for when we're a fan of the Bachelor franchise, is you kind of feel all the emotions at once and when you're watching it. So yeah, I think it should be fun. It's going to be exciting to see again who's on it and what they do. So it's going to definitely be really cool for sure.
Yes. All right. Shall we get into it with the Bachelorettes?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay. Yeah, so we decided today we're kind of just jump around with the topics because it's all over the place. So we might not. Well, I think I should probably address the one thing from the end,
yes,
like from last week's episode. So you may or may not have seen the TikTok/reel that I made about Meatball staying ultimately. I just want to make sure I'm very clear on my statement with this, and this is taking into account the whole next episode that I just watched from this week. So I mean, obviously I'm reacting to like the end clip of when he comes back to be like, well, Rachel, like maybe I was wrong. Like, okay, let's be real. I'm telling you, he probably was talking to one of the producers and was like, oh, I don't know, like I feel bad because blah, 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 blah. And they're like, we'll go talk to her. And that's probably what happened. They did not air any more of the conversation that she had with him. So I don't know what the discussion was. I don't know what she said. I don't know this whole thing. But like they kind of just all of a sudden he's just there in the house. And at the beginning they do have the part where they're like, he's like, well, Rachel gave me another chance. And then they just cut to Nate's face and he's like, whatever. But let me tell you, he's the least of my concerns. Meatball, I think his real name is James. He seems like a good guy. And I do genuinely feel like he was still interested to be there to explore a relationship with Rachel. And I think, you know, obviously I like made a joke about throwing the meatball at the television, and I just use the sticker meatball. I was like, Mom, I'm not gonna throw a meatball, don't worry. Anyway, but let me tell you, if the biggest thing that happened was him staying just to call Hayden out, I'm glad he stayed, because the things that Hayden said about Gabby and Rachel, like I mean, obviously there was a thing that he said about Gabby and
Right.
like from the previous episode about her being like rough around the edges or whatever. And part of it's like, okay, whatever. He used that phrase to her, and it obviously was triggering to her because of other reasons.
Exactly.
And whatever. So that's its own thing. But the other stuff that they said, they caught him saying during their other conversations, that is just unacceptable.
Exactly. Yeah. Sure.
So yeah, I just want to make sure I just wanted to clear my name with the whole meatball thing.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I don't even know where to start with that. It's so crazy. Again, like what he had said, it was totally wrong and uncalled for and everything. And it's just crazy because again, I'm assuming we can just jump all over the place with this just because.
Yeah, so I'm scanning my notes for everything.
Yeah, I know. So I'm just gonna jump to the end of the episode at this point where like Rachel had talked to him and everything like that. And oh my gosh, I really would hate like that this would be, and again, I always like, my mind is kind of like just trained to think this when there's like some kind of crazy like out there situation on the show. I don't know how much was him and how much was like like him being on the show, maybe being like hey, like maybe they knew he had some kind of personality and like he played it up for the show or whatever, just because he left. I don't know if you noticed it, but like when she's like, oh, can I walk you out, he like immediately was like yes, and he didn't care. And so like that kind of made me think like he didn't even care, he wasn't really there for them anyway. And obviously what he said kind of showed he wasn't there for Rachel anyway either. So I don't know how much was like him, that's his real personality, and how much maybe he was trying to play up for the show. Obviously either side, it's wrong and I hate it, but I'm just curious of which way it is.
So I think all right, so I think there are a few things that had happened. Like, okay, he was saying those things at the beginning of the episode that he was just like, oh well, like I think allegedly, I think he said something like, who would want to marry either of them anyway? And I was like,
oh,
what?
yeah.
He definitely said something like that. I mean, I didn't even rewind the episode because I was like, I don't even know if I want to listen to this again. But
neither.
I think what happened at the end was like he told her the story about his dog. And let me tell you, I was not on Twitter, but I saw all the screenshots of the stuff on Twitter, and I was like, what happened with the dog? I think, okay, look, this is obviously a sad situation. Like, I feel for him with his dog. That's devastating. Like, I'm sitting with my dog on the couch next to me while I'm watching this, and I can't handle this whole thing. But what people were definitely giving him flack about from the internet were like, why did you bring the dog toy? If this is his beloved dog, my dog, if he does not, my dog has this, it's like a porcupine or like a hedgehog, something. We call it Porky. I'm sure he probably hears me right now. Like, it's like, if he can't find Porky, like if we take that toy from him, he will scream at us. So I'm just like, it's nuts. Like, I try to have him play with other toys, and that is his toy. So if this is the toy that his dog loved, why would you take that toy away from him? Number one. I thought the thing, whatever, he took the thing and he put it in his pocket. That's one thing. But you took the actual toy from the dog.
That meant well to the dog. Yeah.
So, and I think it's like, okay, if you're that upset about your dog, why are you there?
Yes.
And like, I'm trying to make sure I explain this the right way. So that was one part of it. I think what he was trying to get at with what he was explaining to all the other guys was he felt like he was talking about a very heartfelt thing, and I don't think he felt like she connected with him or like understood him or was like sympathetic to him or something. And like, okay, fine, if that's how he felt, and then he was realizing like that she's not the one for me. But then like, okay, he was just trying to spin it around on like, you made me feel bad and like unseen and that whole situation. So like what I thought was crazy was she's like pissed looking, and then she comes to him and he thinks it's about the dog. Why would she look pissed about your dog.
No, I know, that was so funny.
And then the audacity with the lying that he didn't
Exactly.
say those things.
Exactly.
Do they
We all
not,
saw it.
what did I say? Do they not realize that like every single conversation in the house is being recorded? And
Mhm.
it's better if she just walked him out. So I think at that point, like, I think because he was probably thinking like, all right, look, if you genuinely are there and you don't feel like you're connecting with the girl, then fine, okay. But don't, whatever, don't just be like that. I respect you. Do you though? The way you talk
Especially
about
the
her?
whole comments about him saying well, she doesn't light a candle to my ex or whatever. That was really
That
stupid. Yeah,
no, those
that made me
things.
angry. Yeah, that really
Yeah,
made me upset.
like,
I
look,
mean,
if that hadn't happened, I would have been like, okay, you've felt unseen about the whole thing about your dog. I get it. But like the fact that you were saying those other things in the background, like, bye, so
yeah, I thought it was so funny and just really interesting, and just ended the whole segment with him with like where he was like sitting there on the like right next to the boat right after he had locked out, and he was like, you know what, I really wanted to get to know Rachel, but I want to go back to what was did you write down the
oh,
dog's name?
Rambo.
Rambo. Yeah, he was like, I want to go back to Rambo more, and he
And
was
I'm just
started
like,
getting emotional. But I was like, okay, like
I know, and like I feel for that situation, but like it's no excuse for the other behavior, and that's on Hayden.
I know, and I felt something off when he shared the story about the dog. I felt like that was kind of about Rambo. I felt like it was like a random lead in to the conversation that like, oh, something else is going to happen here. That kind of what I
I
thought.
think they all just. I think that's the thing is they're probably coached on like talk about like a sensitive topic or something. I don't know, and I think it's just like I don't know. It's just I think that's some of the stuff that like I'll just never understand because it's just like it just seems like so off to just I'm just gonna have this conversation at a cocktail party. Like I don't know. I'm trying to think. Okay, so yeah, anyway, so that's on Hayden.
Hayden.
Okay, so now that we're done talking about Hayden, let's get back to the rest of the episode.
Oh, let's do it.
So it started off, they went to France, and both Rachel and Gabby had their one-on-one dates with Rachel was with Tino, and then Gabby was with Jason. So what did you think about those two?
I thought it was really cool. Obviously, I love when they go to like travel destinations and stuff like that because it's fun for the audience to see like what they do and stuff like that. It was interesting that they like again met up together and then went their separate ways and then came back together. I thought that was kind of an interesting thing because I know that they kind of made it seem like it was going to be a like this was the week where everything was going to be separate, and so like it was interesting to see where they obviously the dates were separate, but they like Jason and Tino came together and like met them there, and then when the date was done they went back together. So I thought that was kind of interesting, but I thought both dates went well. I like both of them together, both Jason for Gabby and Rachel with Tino. I obviously think that they're really, really good together. It was interesting to see the difference between Jason and Tino in terms of like their personalities, because obviously we got to see kind of the difference between their personalities where Tino seems very comfortable with Rachel and Jason does too with Gabby, but Gabby obviously pointed out, and most of the audience probably could tell that Jason seems way more reserved and kind of quiet and stuff like that. And I don't think Gabby is really like that. Like I think she's more. Like, I think Gabby can be reserved, but I think she's more just. She definitely is more outgoing and she likes to talk and stuff like that. So, but I do think even besides that, I thought that it was interesting where Gabby she brought up her mom's situation again, which I thought was pretty interesting. And again, I think this shows really how much it's impacted her, but I also think it shows how much she's grown from it and really she's overcame it, because she has talked about really I've come to this place and I really feel like I feel great of the person I've become and stuff like this, regardless of what had happened in the past. And I think that's great that she is, again, like I had said last week, that she's comfortable about sharing something like that, because I don't think I'd be comfortable sharing anything if something like that had happened to me or whatever. So I feel like that is something that I definitely give her props for, and just really commend her that she again just feels comfortable talking about that kind of stuff. And same thing with Jason. And I thought this was a really cool thing in the episode. And I've heard a lot of people actually talk about it, where he had said that, man, I really was not the most confident kid growing up, and I didn't feel like I was good enough for all those things and everything. Therapy really like helped me with this. And again, and I've heard a lot of people say a lot about this, talking about how a lot of men don't talk about therapy like openly, and it just I relate to him in that way because it's helped me with so much as well. And so like I definitely relate to him about the struggles of growing up and feeling like maybe you're not important or just things that he had struggled with as well, but therapy really kind of bringing you back to that place where you really truly know yourself and you can overcome those things. So I definitely thought that was an amazing thing that he had, again, that he was comfortable enough to talk to Gabby about that and stuff like that. And so yeah, I thought, even though the date started off a little bit more that he was more kind of shy and stuff like that, I thought that they had a really good connection and the date went well. And obviously Rachel and Tino, there's kind of no surprise there that she really likes him. I would not be surprised if he's one of the final two. I wouldn't be surprised if he is with Gabby. That's kind of my pick at this point. Because I feel like they're just so kind of infatuated with each other on a really healthy way, in a very healthy level, in a very healthy way. And I just think that, and even Rachel said, I know she didn't say, she says, I know I'm going to fall in love with Tino, which again, it's something that is not really a surprise from the first episode. And I really love their conversations as well. I thought that they just both seem really comfortable with each other and that they can kind of share anything with each other, just kind of like with Jason and Gabby. So it definitely is, again, like just those kind of like dates when they're like traveling and stuff. It's cool to kind of see them go around and do different things. I thought it was funny where they were like, people were speaking French to them and stuff like that, and everybody was like, oh, what? And then I thought that was kind of funny also with Jesse speaking French. And
I have that
was so hilarious. And then because my dad, I was watching it with him and he's like, hey, wait, man, he's pretty good, right? And I was like, Dad, he's from Canada. And he's like, oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I was like, that makes sense.
I was just like, oh my gosh.
I know.
I didn't know he was from Canada, actually.
Yeah.
Surprise to me. I agree with everything you said about Rachel and Tino and Gabby and Jason, but what were you saying?
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say that I thought it was interesting that just to kind of see them do different things around Paris and stuff like that. It was me being a film major, I get really, really like enthralled with like cool shots on TV shows and films. So like obviously all the travel destinations they do, production does really a good job coming up with like cool cinematography shots and stuff like that. So it definitely piqued my interest in that way for me being a film junkie and film major. But that was a really cool thing. But what do you think? Did you do anything of interest?
I mean, I don't. It's weird when I have good things. I don't put as many notes. No, I think Rachel and Tino, like, I just feel really good about them. I do feel like he could be one of her top people.
Me too.
And it's not that I don't think Jason would be one of Gabby's top people. I don't feel the same, like I don't feel as confident in that. But I do feel like what you talked about, like with the therapy and just like understanding themselves, I do feel like they really understand each other. And like Gabby is very upfront about the issues that she's dealt with in her life and like how she doesn't want that to hold her back. So I think the point is that like I see them working in a relationship because they don't seem to be afraid of like dealing with that. So I do feel like it's very promising. And they did show like in that end clip of them with the squashing the grapes, which I thought was hilarious.
I thought that was so funny. That was so awesome. And I thought it was really funny where when Jason and Gabby like went to go try on the berets and they were like just laughing through that and everything. And you're like, what size are you with your head and everything and stuff like that. It was like, oh, I'm like a medium or whatever and stuff like that. So that was really funny. Again, it's just kind of like the quirky, cute stuff that they do. Again, I find it very intriguing.
Yeah, and I thought the one-on-one dates were great. Another side note of the thing that I just had in the notes, I don't love how they're calling it like Team Rachel and Team Gabby because like it's not like it's seeming competitive, but I don't know why they didn't just say like Rachel's group and Gabby's group because I feel like the phrasing of team makes it seem competitive.
That's what I heard from people. Like I said, I would listen to and watch so many other podcasts and recaps on YouTube and stuff like that of other people that I like. And a lot of them are actually saying exactly what you were saying. They were saying kind of like when it's a team, it's almost kind of like silently pitting them against each other without saying it.
But they're not. Like,
but they're not.
And they're really not. They're really not.
They're really not. But then you kind of take it that way, I guess, too. Because like it's like team competitive, I guess. I don't know.
I don't know if they were calling them Team Rachel or Team Gabby at the time it was filming. It could just be like a production editing thing.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't love the phrasing of team. They could have said Rachel's group and Gabby's group.
And that was funny the whole that like again, and they kind of like show it with when they're now on the boat now and they're like showing each group separately and like, oh, this is what we're doing and this is what we're doing, and like, oh, did you get time with Rachel, did you get time with Gabby? And
Yeah.
so it's again, they're really kind of like making it seem like this, and you're right, it might just be like a production edit, and it seems like they're really just trying to be like, oh, here's her group, here's Rachel's group,
Yeah.
here's his group, and that's how they're editing it.
I think it is good to separate them. I don't know. I'm also critiquing the wording because I'm like, team has a connotation of competitive. That's my whole thing. But
Me too.
Whatever. I mean, I think it's there's different issues I think going on with the dynamic between the two of them, which like I want to make sure we get through the dates before I get into that. But actually the date kind of lends itself to it. So there was the boxing date with Gabby. So like I liked what Nate said at the beginning. I really like Nate, especially.
Yeah, me too.
But I think like most of the stuff that I talked about with the date was about Rachel then, because it's just hard because I just feel like Rachel was just getting so upset with herself with the whole situation. It's just sad. Like, what did I write? I don't want to say her expectations are too high of these guys, but I don't know. Like, I'm not there in that situation. And the guys probably like they came to spectate the event. Gabby and Rachel are sitting together. So the guys are probably thinking like, we're here and they're there and I'm not going to like, whatever. They're there to watch it and whatever. I mean, I don't know if Rachel was like actively trying to make eye contact with any of them. And it's like, that's the thing is they were like so laser focused that they weren't even doing that. I'm just concerned because like she came to confront them and I'm like, okay, that's fine. You know, she's allowed to speak how she's feeling. I have this weird thing about like, I just hope that this is one of the only times that she really confronts the guys about this type of thing, because if it keeps happening, it's just like hard. I don't know. It's just like, if it keeps happening or if it happens too much, I feel like the guys are going to get irritated because it's not that she's being high maintenance, but they could perceive that she's being high maintenance. And I just feel like there's a certain level of like, you need to just lay low and see how the guys act.
Yeah.
Like granted, I'm not in her situation and it will be very interesting to hear if after all the filming's done, they like do the post show interviews, if she has different insight to how she acted in those situations. Because I think what I was explaining to my mom was where it's hard is because like, look, if you have a week and the Bachelorette is like low, that's just the situation. And the next week she's low and then the next week she's high, like whatever. But I think what's happening is you have like Gabby's situation. She had like a really good week with her guys. And Rachel did not have a great week with her guys because she was like coming off the rose ceremony with that whole thing. So they're kind of like going like this and like crisscrossing each other. So like they keep talking about the guys comparing them. She's comparing herself to Gabby because she's witnessing Gabby's guys, Gabby's situation, and they're getting it. They're like doing this, and she's like putting that pressure on herself and her guys. And it's hard because like she's got that direct comparison.
Exactly.
So I think that's just messing with her head. And it's like, obviously it's hard. This is a very stressful situation in general, even for one single Bachelorette with the guys. So it's like now you have an immediate comparison of somebody that like for that week seems to have had an easier time. And I feel like, you know, Rachel has had some of the more dramatic situations, like, you know, the rejections, the obviously Meatball coming back, then the situation with Hayden, getting ready for the thing with Logan, which we're gonna get to. But I don't know. I think that's just where like I don't know.
Yeah.
I definitely want to make sure we talk about Spencer with Gabby too, but I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
What do you think? Based on all those things?
There's so much to talk about with it. And I just find it really interesting. Like you said, they're just crisscrossing each other. Like the second episode, they were showing that whole thing with like, it was Gabby going through this where she was like, no one's talking to me. And then obviously she like showed up for that, whatever, like hanging out with them, and then like edited it to make it seem like she wasn't there that long because she was like, you know what, they're not even talking to me. So I'm like, but I don't know, again, if that's kind of like you were saying with Meatball coming back, kind of like the producer saying to him, oh, go over there and talk to her. I'm wondering if it's a thing with the guys, if they're having something that's like, they have clear instructions to be like, hey, like kind of just act like you guys are, or just hang out with the guys and just hang out like this. And then they put Gabby and Rachel together because they don't really have anything where it's clear that like, oh, you're supposed to hang out with Rachel now. Like they kind of just, we're just here watching Gabby's date. Yeah. They never, so I agree with you hands down where she definitely Rachel should come and speak about and confront, I guess, if you want to say that word, but just come up to the guys and say, hey, how you're feeling or how she's feeling. But I really don't think the guys, to some extent, shouldn't be faulted for it, because it's like,
Yeah.
I don't think they're doing it purposely. I really don't.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
And I think that's what she's thinking, because the way she's like confronting them about it, she's like, hey, you guys are knowingly not coming to talk to me, and like that's making me upset. And like I think they're confused by that, because like you said, I don't think they're doing that on purpose. I just don't think they know. So
I think it was different even than like when Gabby went over, like, was it last week or 2 weeks ago, when Gabby like went over to the house to hang out with the guys while Rachel was on the date. Like, that's a very different situation. She was clearly there, and it's like, for them not to take the opportunity to talk to her, that's just stupid. I think probably what happened, oh my gosh, I just lost my train of thought. What was I gonna say? No, I think what Rachel wants to see, and like we've seen this in previous seasons, it's like, if these guys or these girls want to talk to the lead, they will find a way. They will find a way. And I think Rachel's just be like concerned that none of them really seem to be like pushing the envelope to go talk to her. And it's like, it's sad to me, because like she had a great date with Tino, like I guess it was the day before, and part of me is just like, girl, I feel like it's like a slap in the face to him. Like,
I know, I was
come on, like,
yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to be like,
You're talking about how you thought you were going to fall in love with him, and it's like, oh, no one likes me. Like, it's kind of a counterintuitive, where she's like, oh, no one likes me, but then, like you said, she has an amazing date with Tino the day before, so it's kind of confusing.
These guys, and I don't want to be criticizing like, or whatever, like how she felt, this, that. I'm not there, and like I don't know. So I you know, and I do like Rachel, like all that stuff. I feel like I'm like totally whatever. I just like, that's what I'm saying. I hope that after, I mean, I hope it all works out with somebody for her and for Gabby, of course. But I just hope that like maybe in hindsight she can realize that like maybe she was like overreacting a little bit. But I think the whole point is it's stressful, and it's like I feel like Rachel's already burning out. Girl, there's so many more weeks to go. Like, are you gonna get through this?
Kind of seeing the emotional side of her that we knew she had from Clayton's season.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that. I'm the exact same way. We just know that I don't think she's like embarrassed to show her emotion, and I think that's a good thing. But it's just she loves so strongly, I think, that like if she doesn't get even like a fraction of it in return, she feels like, oh, it's me, and like no one's coming like to come and see me, or no one's trying to spend time with me and take that initiative to spend time with me and everything. So it's I definitely feel what she's feeling, but I just hate, like you were talking about, the group date was really not about the boxing match, really. It was like 10 seconds of shots about the boxing thing, and then like a 2-minute little monologue of Rachel talking about how she was feeling. And so it was a kind of weird thing to kind of, I guess, a weird thing to recap, because it really wasn't about the boxing date. So.
But they did go to Spencer. So I was like, all right, maybe we'll go, because we'll get back to Rachel with her date too. But so Spencer won the boxing date, and he went with Gabby. Spencer's very attractive. I'm just gonna say. I love Spencer. He seems great, and he seems really good for Gabby too. So I mean, and I know he was saying he was in the military. So and I know that was Gabby was saying, I guess she had family that was in the military too. So I mean, I don't, again, it was like when they have a good connection, I'm like, I don't really have many notes. Did you have like a lot of notes from that?
I really didn't. I actually made kind of some side notes, because again, it was mostly about like the Rachel, how she was feeling, and just like the emotions she was going through and everything like that. So I didn't take much on the actual date, but I took some like small notes where like they were showing the guys like getting ready for like the boxing match and everything, and I was like, man, Mario, impressive with the jump roping, because like he was doing like crisscrossing and stuff. I'm like, man, Mario, look at you, dude. That was pretty cool. And then I just wrote that Rachel and Rachel's guys were there on the date with them and stuff. Again, we already knew that. And then they had talked about how Nate, I guess Nate had said something to Gabby, and then Rachel had said, oh, look, he really notices the little things. And I thought that was cool, because again, and we talked about how we love Nate. I think that's going to be an amazing, that is an amazing connection for
That's
Gabby.
what I think started driving Rachel a little bit.
Right.
It was just like,
exactly. I can see that. What else do I, and I think that's pretty much it. Again, this is kind of going back to the whole Rachel thing, but I was just so surprised. And again, it's probably just in the moment like emotion, reaction, whatever. But it was just interesting to me how Rachel had said that Clayton had made her feel more wanted than her guys. And again, I'm like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, man, like that's a strong statement. I'm like, that's pretty interesting.
I just hope it works out for the best in the end, because I'm just watching it like, girl, half of these guys aren't really right for you.
No, I know exactly.
Nothing on them, but
and I know we were talking about, and I was talking about it with my dad. We were like, yes, we understand. Like, you want to feel wanted by everybody, and you want to feel like you're important to everybody. Most in life, that really isn't the case with everybody, but that's a good thing. And you don't want to you won't connect with everybody, and that's fine. But like, we were talking about how it should be like a good thing that the guys are being upfront and honest and being like, hey, none of them have been mean except Hayden, but like, but that he's the outlier. Everybody else has been like, hey, you're an amazing woman, and like, I know you're gonna find somebody, and I really, really like getting to know you, but I just don't think we're gonna be a match. And that's a thing. And she gets upset about that. I understand about getting upset about like things not working out, but like, I feel like that should be almost a good thing, where she's not like wasting her time on people that are upfront with her about being that are not interested in her, or at least don't feel that connection. I think that's a good thing.
It's obviously hard in the moment, and like, I don't think her desire for them to be more forthcoming is completely unreasonable. I think it's just
right. I agree.
I think she probably is just stuck in the emotion of it because of like seeing Gabby's guys. I think that's really just what, and it's like,
I think that's the hard thing about this format, is that they're so close to each other in terms of like even if it's separate journeys, they're so kind of like still in kind of their own circles, or they can kind of be mixed in the same circle with each group of guys, so it can become very like, oh, this isn't happening for me, but it's happening for Gabby, or vice versa, or whatever. So it can just be difficult. I definitely understand.
But then anyway, so then they went to her romance date.
Oh, here we
romance
go.
lessons. That was just completely uncomfortable to watch.
That was really funny. I love how they just all walked in, and then they were like, the couple was kissing, and they're like, okay.
That was the armpit smelling thing was the worst. I was like, what is this?
I'd say it's armpit smelling, and then the kissing the hand. I had that was really strange as well.
But even the flirting part, I was like, this is like me when I'm trying to do my samba, and my instructor's just like, come on, like at the beginning, and I'm like, and this is I'm just like, this is that times 50. I was just like, oh god, no, I don't know. I mean, it was just awkward to watch, but like, I don't know.
There wasn't much. Oh, I gotta give credit to Ethan for crawling on the ground.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, man, you go, dude. I'm like, let's go. That was really
I don't know. And then I don't know. I mean, Tyler got
that, because like it was kind of the same thing with Gabby's date. There really wasn't much to talk about. So
no, I know. And then like, I like Tyler because then he got the rose, like he got the extra time with her. I really like Tyler.
Me too.
Like, yay for New Jersey people. Yes. Like I really like Tyler too.
Yeah, so, I added him to my. I remember how I had said that it was between Tyler and another guy. That I was like, as a toss up for Rachel. I automatically put Tyler as a top 4 for me. Like this week, I edited my list with him in it, because I think he's also definitely good. Yeah, Tyler's
also very attractive. I'm just like, I was like, Spencer and Tyler got the one-on-one rose on the group dates this week, and I was like, yes, my guys. No, I really like them.
They're awesome.
What else did I have? All my other notes is like Hayden. We don't need to talk about that anymore. Logan. Oh, my neck just cracked. The rose ceremony, I mean, okay, so they sent home Kirk, Quincy, and Jordan, and then like obviously Hayden left, and then I don't know. I don't know why Logan said yes. I think it stinks, because then it's like the whole cocktail party thing again. I'm like, oh, come on, here we go again with this. But he should have pulled her aside.
Exactly.
I think it was also hard because that had just happened with Hayden, but like now it's going to drag on. Like now you just accepted the rose. Now it's going to drag on. I think that Gabby looked at his face, and the way that they showed the clip, she knows something's up.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the weirdest thing now is like, because I think the point is whereas if the situation with like Meatball, like he was more interested in Gabby at that point in time, and then he said no to Rachel, and then he was like, all right, well, now he's there for Rachel, and he's there for Rachel. He's not like trying to weasel his way to Gabby, because you could tell Gabby didn't like him enough for that. So fine. But I think with Logan's situation now, it's like he also likes Gabby, and he did also have a connection with Gabby at the beginning. So like if Gabby's still interested in him, and like from the previews, it definitely looks like she's gonna take him. And there's nothing against that, but it's like against her taking him, but it's like it's just gonna be another blow to Rachel. And I, obviously this has been so hard for her so far that I'm like, oh no, here we go again. So like Logan is gonna really set off like a whole other storm of stuff. So we're gonna see. I just hope that after that it gets better.
I really hope so too.
I'm
but
hoping.
We've been again, I don't want to speak too soon and jinx this, but we've been lucky with no like villain staples in this season.
No.
I don't need it.
No, I mean he didn't just like that was just him lying and being
yeah. We got
that
Chris
was it.
for one episode and Hayden for one episode talking about. So it's like I'm just glad that we haven't had like a Shanae or something like that, where it's like dragged out for 6 weeks and everybody's like, get rid of her, but obviously they're not going to. I'm just glad that we haven't had that. I don't want to speak too soon, but usually they're not even, they don't have that many guys left now that like either of them, that I don't think that it's going to be much of a concern for them to do that. So I'm glad that hasn't been a thing. But again, Hayden was just again, I don't even know.
It was just that was just like that wasn't like a villain situation. That was just like he was.
I just really hope the franchise gets away from that. I really do.
Yeah.
I have one more note. I just said that going back to Tyler, I really liked the poem that he had read to Rachel. I thought that was really sweet, and it seemed like Rachel really liked it too. And I said that they have a really good connection. I had said I had put him in my top 4 for Rachel. Like I solidified that because I think he's gonna really go far. I think that they have an amazing connection and really like each other. So I really liked it. I don't know if you have any other thoughts.
I mean that's it. Like I think it's just like despite all of this craziness right now, like I do feel like both of them have some really strong connections. So I'm optimistic for both of them that they're gonna find somebody. Like these guys, I think collectively this is a really great group of guys overall. Me too. So I don't know. I hope it works out, and I hope this like maybe the whole thing with Logan kind of like after that maybe it.
I just hope it doesn't drag on long. I just hope
balances out. Because it's gonna be pretty aggressive and it's probably gonna be rough, but we'll see. So hopefully
I just hope it's not a thing where like they bring it into next episode and then they do like a cliffhanger and bring it into the next episode. I'm really hoping to just resolve it next episode and then that's the end of it. I really hope
we'll see
for a long time.
I mean, we'll see what happens. I don't know. They didn't blow it up that it was like that much. I think it's like obviously they're going to talk about that, but we'll see. I just hope, and that's the thing. Like, I just really hope that it was all worth it for them. Like that Rachel and Gabby now at this point after filming, after all this, that it was worth it for them. That like even though it was rough during the situation, that like they can look back and be like, it was worth that. And I think because like I know it's hard for both of them.
Yeah. So people had said that like interviewing them before the season had started, like giving like a sneak preview for the season, like 2 or 3 weeks before the season premiered. A lot of them like were saying, oh, when we were interviewing both of them, we noticed that they seemed way happier than when the last season ended. And so they thought that even whether or not they're with people, we hope that they are, but whether or not they are, they seem like they're in a really good place now, which is awesome. So I'm hoping that, again, once the season ends, that just seems to continue for them and for all the guys as well.
So that's it. I don't know. I mean,
again, there wasn't much to talk about.
Every week I go, I feel like I have less notes, but
no, me too.
It's fine. All right. I think I could finish up. So I think so I think that's going to be the end for today. I just want to remind everybody, please like this video, subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Instagram at Ballrooms and Bachelors. Our individual Instagram handles are on the bio for Ballrooms and Bachelors. We still have a few things that we wanted to post, like post competition. And we're trying to just make sure we keep posting some content specifically on Instagram in between the episodes. So just stay tuned there. Especially if we do find out that there's a like they dropped the cast list for Bachelor in Paradise and Dancing with the Stars. We'll plan to do a live at some point in the near future after that point. So, you know, Instagram is the best place to try to stay up to date. And I think I was going to say one other thing, and I don't remember what that was, but yeah, I mean, just if you have any other things you want us to talk about, any other ideas, questions that you have about dance or Bachelorette or anything, you know, feel free to message us. And that's about it, I think.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for listening so far and supporting us. We are
Thank you.
excited that we got to episode 5. This is exciting.
It's insane. It's so exciting, but it's so crazy to me that like we had been like talking about this before we started the podcast, and like now we're at episode 5, and we're just like, yes, we got 5 done, and we have so many more to go. So let's keep going.
And we're you know, we're getting a little bit better with our like structure of getting this out every week. So yeah, so thanks for following us, and we will talk to you next week.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.